PEMF isn't meant to diagnose, treat, or cure anything, and these statements haven't been reviewed by the FDA. Always check with your doctor before trying it, especially if you're pregnant or have implanted medical devices. This is for information only, so please make your own informed decisions. This is Feel the PEMF, the podcast about pulsed electromagnetic field energy. I am Andrew, sharing 20 years of experience, stories, and insights to help you discover the power of PEMF.
Hi, Andrew.
Hey, Amber.
Hi, everyone. This is Andrew from Feel the PEMF, and I'm really excited to be talking with him today and sharing this video with you. And I know he with all of his contacts and people because we've had a long-standing relationship working together utilizing PEMF since 2014. And Andrew will tell a little bit about himself, but we've been working together for a long time, and he has a lot of interesting information about pulsed electromagnetic field that I feel like is very important to share with you, the Thrive community, and the rest of the world. So thanks, Andrew, for taking time to spend with me tonight to talk about this subject.
Hey, it is good to be here, and it's always good to see you and talk with you. Amber is one of my very first customers. She fell in love with this product, and she has never not loved it since. So it's been good to know you, Amber, and I'm glad we're finally doing this. Amber at Thrive Worldwide Wellness is coming all the way from Costa Rica today. I'm in San Diego, and we have found some time today to talk about PEMF, and I am excited also to be here with her. Probably one of my best cheerleaders for PEMF. Her clients are going to know about PEMF. They're going to use her PEMF. They're going to get results with the PEMF. And that's why I wanted to bring her on today, because she really does make it part of her protocols, and her patients really do benefit. So I hope to hear some stories from her today in what she's doing, and helping people around the world. So thanks for being on today, Amber. So I understand you have some questions for me.
Sure. Okay. So when did you begin working with this technology?
Oh, gosh. I think it's over 17 years, 18 years now. I found this technology, selling therapeutic equipment to chiropractors. This manufacturer was across from me in a booth at some Vegas conference, and I fell in love with it. And I said, I got great results the first time I used it. And I had to have a machine, and I got one. And I learned how to use it, and I've been doing it ever since. So basically, it started out just kind of demonstrating doctors and, trying to. And then I met some really good people that got behind me and got us into the integrative medicine world. We got some great doctors that promoted PEMF at these conferences, and were able to really just wedge it into all these integrative medicine protocols. And, they really realize that PEMF is a great catalyst to what they're trying to do. We're just a team of people that really believes in the product. And, it's been a good run. I can't believe it's almost, 20 years doing this now.
Wow. I wanted to make sure I didn't misspeak. I thought it was that long, but I was like, let's just confirm that. There's a second part to this question, and I felt it's important for people to know how long you've been in this industry, because PEMF is now, starting to be acknowledged, and people are learning about it more and more. And there's a lot of equipment that's coming out on the market. And I feel so blessed because you were my first experience with PEMF, this particular technology, this particular brand of unit. And I think back on the divine just the divine interaction that was happening back then, what this unit has helped me do with people in the Thrive Wellness Center clinic, for almost 9 years. And now outside in my wellness programs, and finding out after my mom had stage 4 cancer, and we go to one of the top holistic cancer clinics in the world, and they have this unit. I was like, how divine is this? And now I have one that my mom can use to support her body in her, rebalancing and recovering her body. So I wanted to ask you to share what is the difference, because there are mats on the market now that are $500-$600. Beamer units, they're called. A lot of people have heard of that and have invested in those. And I think it's important that people understand, what makes this particular technology that you have and that, I've invested in and use in my practice so special.
Well, PEMF has come a long way. PEMF in general was this kind of voodoo, right? It was just this energy that came out of a mat, and some people felt it on some machines and some people didn't. And basically people were like, what is this stuff? Does it work? Is it real? Does it really go through your body? There was so much unknown and even a little bit of confusion over the years, especially when a lot of machines came out. But PEMF in general is basically an energy that's created with these units that is spinning electricity, creating magnetic field, and then our machines then pulse the magnetic field through the body. There's lots of different types of machines out there that are, spinning electricity and creating PEMF, but deliver very little Gauss. And Gauss is just the way that we measure magnetic field. You talk about beamers and electrons and IMRSs and all these different machines. We all measure it a little bit differently. A lot of it's just calculus, right? So these low power devices are, low power because they're only putting out maybe 1 Gauss, 10 Gauss, 100 Gauss. I've seen some maybe up to 500 Gauss with some of the attachments that they have. But a lot of them are incorporating frequency therapy along with them. I honestly think that low power PEMF there's a purpose for it. I think that people who are healthy and want to stay healthy, if you have one of these devices, you'll probably be healthier than your neighbor, okay, that doesn't have one. But by the time people find you and I, Amber, they are in need of something more. They need to literally jumpstart their body because they're full of toxins. They're already ill or diseased or have an autoimmune issue. There's something going on where 1 Gauss isn't going to do it. With our machines, we are putting out thousands and thousands of Gauss of magnetic field. It's strong enough to fire muscle, nerve, and even it could even be a little bit uncomfortable on the body because the intensity is so great with our machines. These are going to make a difference in your life immediately because you can feel it. You can walk away from a session saying, oh, wow, that definitely did something today. And you're going to reschedule, you're going to show up for your appointments, and you're going to, partner with somebody like you who has one of our machines. As far as like the integrative world and, alternative cancer treatments and, these centers, the main thing that they're using the equipment for, Amber, is cell charge. Basically, cell charge is huge. When you're unhealthy, your cell membrane potential drops. Your cells become clogged with toxins and they just don't function well. And the membrane isn't able to pull in nutrients anymore, and it can't push out any toxins. So it's very hard for somebody with nutrition alone to break that cycle. It's hard. So what they use magnetic field for is to reset the cell membrane potential of these cells so that it goes to a better charge. The healthy cell is charged between -70 and -90 millivolts. If your cell membranes are at that charge, you're going to be able to push out a toxin, absorb a nutrient. If you have autoimmune issues, your cell membrane potential drops to, negative 60, negative 50, negative 40. You stop absorbing stuff. You stop kicking things out. So, even if they are eating healthy, even if they are, trying to detox, their cells just hang on to everything because there's no power there to push it out or absorb it. When it drops into the 30s, negative 30s, that's where cancer likes to live. The cells become acidic. It's a very unhealthy state. These integrative wellness centers are finding as they use PEMF, within minutes, the cells are reset to a negative 70, negative 90 millivolt charge. And all of a sudden, these cells are able to pull in nutrients and they're able to push out toxins. One of their main treatments is vitamin C. Well, vitamin C is an antioxidant. If you get an antioxidant into a cancer cell, it will kill it. So that's where they have found that just by changing the charge of the cell, they can allow that antioxidant to get through and hopefully kill those bad cells. So their energy is everything. It's all around us. If we're at the right charge, we're going to thrive. We're going to be healthy, right? If it starts to lower, autoimmune stuff, then disease, and then zero is you met your maker, right? So you everything is energy with these, and more integrative centers are finding out that they need to change the energy of the person. Low power devices in general just are not going to have enough. To give you an example, if you use like I'm not going to say a name, but if you use a low power intensity device, you lie on the mat and then you lie on one of our machines, or you put a ring on your body and you turn our machine on. One pulse of our equipment, just one pulse through your body, is like using low power PEMF for 30 hours. We can't make these devices for a few $100 and sell them for $5,000. We just can't. These are powerful units. Beauty of it is we can actually sell. We have some now. When you bought your machine, we only had one, right? We had one machine and it was over $20,000. And now we have home units now that you can, that start at 5,500. We have some that start for 4,000 now too. But, ones that you can fill for $5,500. So, we've come a long way. It's just technology always gets smaller, lighter, more affordable, and we're here. And that's what's exciting about this. But I hope that answered your question about of PEMF and these, integrative centers and,
Well, yeah, I was curious for people to just understand the difference between lower frequency, lower cost units and these units that are higher priced. And, I decided I didn't have an extra 25,000, which is actually mine ended up costing me almost 30,000 because I did a high interest.
Please. Yeah, I remember.
And I did it because it was such an impactful experience having the unit, what it did for me, that I was willing to pay whatever I needed to pay, whatever it took to get one of these units because it was so impactful. And, your statement about how you feel it's true. I would say about 95% of the clients that utilized PEMF in my practice walked out with an effect, with something that they could say, yes, this changed, this shifted. I felt better in this regard. This changed. I can lift my arm over my head, after one session where they could only bring it to here beforehand. Or I slept through the night. I haven't slept through the night in, years. Crazy testimonials. So thank you for clarifying that because, I think it's important to understand quality and value, especially when looking at technology that's you're putting on your body and, you're putting through your body and you're doing it for a specific purpose. And you want to make sure it works.
You're listening to the Feel the PMF podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll be right back after this. PEMF isn't meant to diagnose, treat, or cure anything, and these statements haven't been reviewed by the FDA. Always check with your doctor before trying it, especially if you're pregnant or have implanted medical devices. This is for information only, so please make your own informed decisions.
Yeah, and if you Google PEMF, it just says pain, inflammation, circulation, range of motion. But we just know that there's so much more to that now. It's evolved into every type of practice, from chiropractic to, even like skin like therapy and anti-aging and stem cells, and is being used everywhere, so it really has evolved. And I was actually thinking about, I wanted you to tell the story about how that weekend you found PEMF. I thought it was a kind of a funny story, so I was hoping you could talk about that.
Yes, I would love to. So,
it was a long time ago. I remember it was like in iridology, right? Like we were.
Yeah, I was at an iridology conference. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 2014. And I'd driven 9.5 hours from Pennsylvania to Kentucky. I think that's how long it was. The 12, I don't remember, but it was very far. And I was struggling severely with TMJ, horrible chronic TMJ pain for years at this point. And to the point where I would yawn and I would just cringe and couldn't move. Or I'd be biting into some food and I would just, jerk because it was so painful and have tears coming out of my eyes. It was really, really severe chronic pain. And I was walking around all the different booths, and I saw Andrew with this machine, and I'm like, things looks weird. I'm like, it looks like a medieval torture device. I'm just going to avoid that. But I went to all the other places, I did the tinctures and I did the readings of your meridians and took all the things, rubbed the creams. Nothing was helping. And maybe I got 20 to 30 minutes relief. And I was in line for this company that sold a cream. It was supposed to take away your inflammation and pain instantaneously. And you were like, I was in line for that. And you were like, come on over here. Come try this. And I'm like, oh no, he's trapped me. I can't be there. So I went and I sat down and you put the loop over my head. And I remember you had it on very low and you turned it on. And I was like, oh my God, turn it down. Yeah. Energetically, I'm a sensitive human. Something that probably would bother most people. I felt it in my heart. And after you worked on me for 9 minutes that day, that's it, 9 minutes. And the next day I recall this crystal clear because my pain situation was so bad. I was like, this is a 40% reduction. This is a 40% reduction in my pain. Like, oh my God, after 9 minutes. And then I went.
And you came back to tell me, yes.
I came back every day for the rest of the seminar, which was another 3 days. So you worked on me 3 days in a row for 9 minutes a day. I was fully 100% pain-free for 2 weeks. And then I got a massage, and I was pain-free for another 2 weeks. A massage bought me 30 minutes to an hour in the past. And now a massage bought me 2 weeks. Because of,
And that it's the same story with me. I went to a conference. I had a pain behind my scapula. I used it for 9 minutes each day of the conference. It was gone the day I was packing up. A month later, no pain. A month later, I had a machine and I was selling these things. Like, same thing with you. A month, it's crazy how the energy affects people. Like, you just know it's right for you. That's what I try to do when I'm at these conferences and give people that experience. So I've always liked that story of yours. I remember you just driving. I couldn't believe you drove 9 hours to that conference. I was like, you have to drive back 9 hours. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but
I was ready to start looking into surgery. That's how bad I was. I had tried everything under the sun. So, anyways, it was a great, I'm so grateful that you roped me in that day and literally I feel like it saved me, because I was about to have to go and have everything surgically realigned and, you know, yeah.
the universe had another plan for you.
It,
Yeah. Yeah. You say you're supposed, you're put in front of people on purpose, right? You're supposed to meet certain people. And that was a weekend that just put us together there, Amber. So that was good.
So I want to ask you, Andrew, for my first official question for you is, can you explain for people what PEMF is? What does PEMF stand for? What is it? How does it work? Just the general basic 101.
Basic PEMF is pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, right? So, we are spinning electricity, creating a magnetic field, pulsing it through the body. Our machines are either our old analog machines, where it's a series of parts working together to pulse the energy through an attachment, a loop, like a mat. We have helmets, we have seats, we have all kinds of stuff now. But basically, we can send this energy into your body. This energy is smaller than electrons. It is stimulating at such a small level that it affects like the Krebs cycle. You have all these little tiny functions in our body, and the energy is so small that it actually affects those things. So you're making things spin around in your body that weren't spinning as fast before. And that's why it's such a jumpstart to the system. So, we take this energy, and it's a little bit of a mystery. I always tell people PEMF is a mystery. You can't, patent it. You can't, put it in a box and, sell it to people. It's one of these things that has a little bit of mystery because, one, you can't see it, and it's going through your body doing something. People don't realize just because you put it on your shoulder, it makes your shoulder jump. It's not just a muscle stimulator. This is affecting, the nucleus of the cell, the mitochondria in the cell. The energy is that small. Electricity can't do that. It's too big. And it can shock and it can burn. So, it's just a different technology altogether, way more advanced, than, just muscle stimulators and, sound generators and sound equipment that's out there, firing muscle and nerve. So, but, PEMF it's come a long way. It's big in Europe and big in other places. And now with the help of, I don't know if you remember Dr. Gary Gordon, I think he was there at iridology with us, with him, just blasting us into the integrative world. And then also too, a lot more manufacturers came out and started making stuff like ours. And then more and more, smaller, low power devices are out there. So it may have led to some confusion, but I think people are circling back to high intensity PEMF because they want something they can feel. They want something that works. They don't want to buy a $5,000 to $7,000 machine, put it in their living room, use it really long, for a month, and then it ends up in a closet when company comes over and never comes back out. Our equipment doesn't like that because it works and you can feel it, and you're going to be like, this is my go-to. When I get off work, I'm going to sit on this machine and calm this low back down. Because you get those instant results with high intensity PEMF, you're going to use it, you're going to keep it out, and your family, your friends, and neighbors are going to be overusing it. You'll be the most popular person on the block. So it says, how it is, when people you have a machine, all of a sudden there they are showing up using it. So high intensity PEMF is the way to go.
So I just want to circle back though on that question because I don't, spinning energy, right? So to help people understand, I think these units come with attachments that have loops that are rubber on the outside or silicone and they have electricity going through them in a circuit. And what happens when you create a closed circuit of electricity is it generates a magnetic field. So magnetism, we're familiar with magnets. When we stick a magnet on the refrigerator, it sticks to the refrigerator, right? How many Gauss does a magnet that goes on the refrigerator have, Andrew?
Well, those are static magnets. I think they can go up to like maybe 10 to 100 Gauss. But a static magnet is only going to go into your body about a 16th of an inch.
Right. And so there's companies that have made bracelets and beds and socks and, shoe inserts and all kinds of things that have, magnetic therapy associated with them. But the field that's generated, that's what creates the magic, right? It's the magnetic field. And because Earth has a magnetic field, we evolved as organisms, sleeping on the earth, walking barefoot. Like our cells evolved with magnetic field, like coexisting.
Yeah, well, I mean, just the magma spinning around the core of the earth is going to create a magnetic field, and we're in a magnetic field all the time. The earth can put out, 100 Gauss, 200 Gauss. If you go to the beach and lie in the sand, you feel pretty good. If you lie in the grass, you feel pretty good. You go out and do your gardening, you come back inside, you're like, well, I feel pretty good. Why? Because you're not standing on a concrete foundation that's blocking all the magnetic field. So you're actually getting some magnetic field to go through your body. Imagine, concentrating that and then putting it through your body. People go to, the vortexes in Sedona and, they sit on the rocks and, they sit in these vortexes of magnetic field to feel better, right? They say that they heal on these areas, and then I'm sure there's things around the world where people go to get this type of healing in these, healing places around the world. Or imagine having a machine that has a loop or a mat that puts out, that energy times 100, times 200, So, yes, magnetic field, we're supposed to have magnetic field. We're supposed to be in a magnetic field, and we can't live without it. If you take away our magnetic field, our Earth would be destroyed. If you were to box us in a lead box, we would slowly die, because magnetic field is needed for our cells to metabolize.
Thank you for explaining that.
I think it's my turn for a question. Let's see here. I want to talk about maybe an experience you had. You don't have to name names or anything if you don't want to, but I want you to talk about maybe a client that just really thrived with PEMF, that it made you take a step back and say wow, this is incredible what I'm seeing with this patient. Do you have a story like that?
I have so many stories like that. Yeah. I'll just see if I'll just throw out a couple really quickly because there's so many incredible ones. And I remember starting right from the very beginning when you came out to do the training at Thrive. There was a woman who had pitted edema for years, and you were doing a demo, and you demoed on her right leg, and you did the PEMF all down her leg. And the next day she called me and said, what the hell happened? My foot doesn't fit in my boots anymore because her boots had stretched out. It had been 8 months she was struggling with this. Nothing was getting rid of it. She was a nurse. And now she had one leg that was skinny and normal and one leg that was still swollen with spinning edema. And she's like, please help me. I want to be able to get both of my legs back to normal.
I think they ended up getting back to normal, right? Yeah. Both sides. Yeah.
The therapy stuck. That was one day.
I remember her. I remember that. I remember she sat down and one leg was way swollen and the other one wasn't. I remember, and she said it's been like that since birth, she said. And she had tried.
Other leg too. Both.
Yeah.
That's why she had to come back and get the other leg done as well. She had it in both legs, but it was worse. That's why you worked on the worst leg, and then the next day the worst leg was better.
Yeah. I want to say she had mentioned that like when she was born, there was like a problem with one of her legs when she was coming out or something. And it was all her. So that leg was always swollen for like her whole life. And then, it went back to normal. Like I still tell that story too, Amber. I do. I remember that gal. That was great. Yeah.
Yes, that was very impactful. Another one was a client who was undergoing chemotherapy and radiation and had reached the point that this was before I was using PEMF with people who had cancer. Hadn't quite gotten there yet. You know, it was in the office and we were just using it on people who were coming in for pain and various things. Well, I said, let me try this PEMF, and I brought the unit out to her home. And this was a client that I had known for a long time at this point and was working with her integratively to support her with the cancer therapy. But she wasn't going to make it. She said, I'm going to tell the doctors that I'm stopping treatments because I can't handle the side effects. It was devastating her gut. She was weak. She had severe diarrhea. She couldn't get off the toilet. Just whole body felt horrible and achy. And she's like, I can't live like this. Like, I'd rather die. And I was like, let me come to your house. So she hobbled to the door. She had dark circles under her eyes. We put the PEMF on her for 30 minutes. And I'm not even kidding you. She walked me to the door normally. The dark circles under her eyes had lifted, and she's like, I'm feeling better. Like, I'm surprised, like, that quickly I could start feeling better. I went back to her for the next 2 days that week, and by Friday, she was out running errands. We kept doing PEMF with her. She did a church fundraiser. The church bought her a machine so she could have one. She had bile duct cancer, which was misdiagnosed as pancreatic cancer. And that unit helped her get through all of her chemotherapy treatments and helped her keep going for another 2.5 years of, gaining quality of life. And to me, that was a really impactful story.
Yeah. I mean, I get them all the time. I get stories like that where, people just, they're fighting stuff and they get more time. They have a much better, life at the end there, and it's, and some people they go into remission and they stay in remission, So I get these stories all the time, and it's just because it's so immediate. We talk about those cells getting to the right charge, and all of a sudden, they're getting these spurts of energy and they're absorbing nutrients again and feeling better. And I always tell people, all right, use this machine, 3 times a week for a month. And I'm telling you, you're gonna feel better next month. And they do. It's very easy. There's no wrong way to use it. You just got to get the energy to go through you and you feel better. So yeah, just think of all the people now we can help, Amber, with these home units.
You're listening to the Feel the PEMF podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll be right back after this. PEMF isn't meant to diagnose, treat, or cure anything, and these statements haven't been reviewed by the FDA. Always check with your doctor before trying it, especially if you're pregnant or have implanted medical devices. This is for information only, so please make your own informed decisions.
Oh, yeah. The home units are really exciting. I was actually hoping you could just speak really quickly about the Jumpstart unit. because that is the most portable, user-friendly, financially friendly unit that.
Yeah. The jump starts, they start at $5,500. I mean, that's less than the low power devices. That's less that are out there. I would say the top five. It's still less than those. So the jump start is the size of a tissue box, and it comes in a couple different ways. We have a single connect, which is just your single loop. 12-inch loop goes, and you can just move it around the body. You can place it on the torso. You can kind of give it a little twist and wrap it around the joints. Great little machine. One attachment. No, it's light. You could travel with it. I run it on I have this little battery, and I can plug it into that battery. I can do it in the car, which is nice. It doesn't draw a lot of power, so people in motorhomes and things like that, they love them. It comes with you can order in a double loop. It's an oversized double loop, so it still fits over your head. So that we kind of get the best of both worlds. You can move it around the torso and then wrap it around a joint. A lot of people like that one because it's a little more versatile loop. We also make one that is permanently attached to a therapy mat. These are more of, autoimmune disease, people who are really need to focus on charge of their body, even wound healing, bed sores, things like that. But having a mat attached to the unit is a little bulky. So I when people are going to get a mat, I encourage them to get the versatile unit, which is you can interchange. They're a little bit more, but I have a little promotion where, if you do buy the mat, then I'll throw in the loop, or a single or double loop. So most people will do that because I want them to be able to take that mat off because it can be a little bulky. And the versatile unit, you can buy one loop, you can buy two loops, you can buy, use the deal, get the mat, get a loop. We have helmets now for people who are going to use it for cognitive issues, any kind of mood issues. There is a giant PEMF device that's used for depression. I don't know if you've heard of the NeuroStar, but 80% success rates with depression. It just got reclassified to work on kids also. So how safe is that, right? That's magnetic field. That's PEMF. That's high intensity PEMF going through the brain. And now we have a small unit that you can, use a helmet and do your head, which is kind of nice. We also have a seat. There's a seat that you can use and sit on and work on the pelvic floor, prostate stuff, tailbone pain, things like that people use the seat for. The jump start is the beginning. If that's where you are budget wise, if that's where you are with having something portable, if that's where you are, that's where you start. If you need some more power, you're going to jump up in price to our next series of machines. You're an athlete, you're competing, you're training for a marathon, you're doing something, you're probably going to need a little more power for scar tissue and different things. If you're a small practice, maybe you're a, naturopathic doctor, maybe you see only, 10 patients a week, very small, you might need, Jumpstart might work fine. Or you could go into the next level up. So we have a good variety, but the Jumpstart, that's the beginning. That's where you start. That's how we're going to help a lot of people, especially these integrative centers, because they're only focused on keeping the charge correct. And the Jumpstart can do that. If you can get that charge to the right cell membrane potential, the Jumpstart is plenty of power. So
yeah,
good.
I spent years using this technology and, people want it, but they just couldn't afford it. So this is very exciting to me to know that we have the strength, the level of Gauss, the the intensities that we're looking for in the pulse, therapy realm, not in just having a low grade frequency coming out where you don't feel anything, and that people can have them in their homes to help themselves.
Yeah, and a lot of people just live too far away from the nearest machine. They live too far. It was like a 2-hour drive to go to the doctor. Yeah.
I'm like, who has one of these in, Dallas? Who has one in, England? I mean, I know the poor Andrew. I'm like, multiple times a year. I'm like, where, because I'm talking to people and I'm like, you got to get on one of these units. And so we're always looking who has one, but they should be in every doctor's office across the country and around the world. I mean, that's the bottom line. This technology should be in every single medical office, physical therapist, chiropractor's office, naturopathic doctor, and technically, yes, in everybody's home. This should be accessible, free around the world. Literally start to decrease all of our medical costs. That people, I mean, it's an epidemic.
Yeah.
And health, the decline of health in not only in the American culture, but around the world is an epidemic. And I hope, I pray someday that this technology, that people have access to it everywhere.
Yeah. I always tell people, like, or doctors, I said, even if you didn't charge not $1 for this therapy, the referrals alone that you would get would pay for the machine. The new patients that would come because you have that machine. I know, like, I hate to put like clients as a dollar amount, but every new client brings in money to a practice, no matter how you slice it. And, just by having the equipment and someone saying, I went to that doctor and I used this machine and I feel so much better, you need to try it, is worth thousands of dollars to the doctor in the future, and that, it's always tell people, help people, show people the machine, and the money will come later. I always say that to my salespeople too. Like, you just demonstrate it. You show people, you help people, you get out there and you yell at that girl rubbing her jaw and you say, get over here. Because it will come, the money will come, and I don't know how many machines and people you've sent me over the years just because I did that, and that's just saying, this technology is there. It's for everybody. I wish it was free, but someone's got to pay for the machines, and that's, and the thing is you get it in return, with your good health and, referrals down the way. So
I'm happy and delighted to continue sending people to you and to bringing this technology to every single person that I possibly can. 90% of my 6-month wellness program clients have PEMF included in their package. It goes right to their house. They get it for a month, or they get to experience it. They get the benefits, because most conditions will benefit from pulsed electromagnetic field. So yes, I'm so grateful for you, Andrew. I am so grateful you came into my life. I get to live pain-free every day. And I've gotten to help hundreds of people, probably more than hundreds at this point. It's been a long time. It's been 11 years. But thank you.
Yeah, I had one more question, but we did answer it, I think, for the most part. I was talking about the future of PEMF, and you said it's going to be everywhere. It needs to be in every office, but I always try to get the opinion of people like you, because you see it, and you have a time in your life pre-PEMF and post-PEMF in your practice. And so I always like to ask, is one, I kind of know where PEMF is going in your practice, but you can talk about that if you like. But, all this, eating the right foods and taking the right supplements and doing these IVs and detoxing and earthing and grounding and all the things. Do you think you could do all that without PEMF? You think PEMF is all that other stuff is enough? You think that really, like, PEMF is like what makes a difference? That's what I kind of know.
I'll give my honest opinion. It depends on the client. It depends on the person's case and condition. I absolutely have seen people make incredible turnarounds without PEM, through nutrition, through supplementation. Some people don't like the feeling of a pulse. Some people don't like electricity. For example, I have a client that I'm working with. We're wrapping up a 6-month program, and he started, it was kind of miraculous, actually. She had chronic diarrhea for about 25 years. And within 6 weeks, of working together, changing her diet and putting her on supplementation, it was gone within 6 weeks. No PEMF. She had a PEMF in her package though. So finally, when the PEMF came to her, she tried it and she was like, this isn't for me. And she told me she had been electrocuted. She had had an experience where she was electrocuted and she was scared of anything that had electricity. So yeah, are there, can these things on their own work and help and generate change? 100%. Can PEMF accelerate, and especially for people who have really severe chronic issues, literally be the turning point? 100%. I'm a holistic practitioner. I owned a wellness center. I was at a pain level 7 to 10 every day for years. I was getting chiropractic care. I was getting massage. I was getting acupuncture. I was eating healthy. I was taking vitamins. I was doing all these things. That was not fixing. It was not fixing my problem. So, I think it's on a case-by-case basis. But like I said, I think 95% of the time you put PEMF into the mix and you will not regret it.
So a quick point on our Jumpstart machine, the first 2 settings you can't feel. First setting is 10 pulses per second, which is what every major study of PEMF over the past 30 years was based on. 10 hertz, 10 pulses per second. They thought the frequency of the earth was 10 pulses per second until Schumann realized it was 7.83. Well, guess what the next setting up is? 7.83. Okay, so that's where you're earthing, grounding, calming the nervous system, helping with stress and anxiety. And those 2 settings you can't feel. It's very gentle. There are some pretty sensitive patients. You might be able to feel it, but where they're designed for that. To sit through an IV in quiet without hearing the ticking. Some people want that, and so that's why we have those 2 settings in there. And then in the rest of the settings, there's 3 more intensities that you can feel. We embed 7.83. So it's in the background. So it's going to calm your nervous system. It's going to help with the circulation. It's going to help with the inflammation. It's going to do all the great things that PEMF benefits. And you're going to have that big pulse on top. So it's kind of, I wanted to make that point because you have that gal is afraid of electricity. And I've had that too. I've had people that are like, no, I was shocked. And I don't want to be around any kind of energy like that. But with these machines, we kind of thought about that too. We know there's some people out there that don't want to feel anything. They just want to know that they're being charged up. So
right.
Good. Well, thank you. I always want to know that I'm making a difference. And when I tell all these doctors, this will help your patients, this will help, this will do it, this is going to take them over the edge. It's good to get that feedback. Appreciate it. You have another one for me? Are we good? We have another question?
I know we've been on for quite a bit here, but if we want to squeeze one more in, I would say I want to know what your most incredible testimonial is that you've personally seen, because you've got 17 years under your belt. I only have 11. So.
Oh gosh. I have a lot of stories, even, horses, dogs, people, tumors, all kinds of stuff. There's one that does stick out, and it was probably what really hit me when I was selling these machines. This is probably the testimonial that hit me and told me that I was making a difference. And I don't really tell this story often, so I don't know. I get sad, but it's one of these. I had a gentleman that bought our machine. He had never felt it. He found it. He called in, put his credit card down, and bought it. And I was the person sent out to train him. So I flew out. We were in New York, by the Niagara Falls. I remember in Buffalo, I think I flew into. We met at the hotel that I was staying at. We met in the lobby, and he comes in, and he's just got this, great smile on his face. He comes in, he's with his wife. We sit down at the table, and we're talking, we're having a great conversation. He's excited that I'm there to show him about the machine and how to use it. And he he had the machine probably about a month. By the time I got out there, he had the machine. So we're talking, and his wife gets up and she says, "Oh, excuse me, she had to use the restroom or whatever." And so it was just me and him sitting there, and he leans in and he goes, "Hey, Andrew, my wife's not here, but I wanted to tell you this." And I said, "Okay." He's like, "My injury to my foot was so painful. I have been in pain with this foot every single day since the accident happened. It was a pallet jack, an electronic pallet jack crushed his foot. And he had pain that was unbearable 24 hours a day." And he told me, he said, "Andrew, I was getting my affairs in order because I was going to end my life. And I bought this machine because it was the last hope that I had. And after the first session with this machine, the pain went down. And I've been using it every single day. And you saw me walk in here. I'm not in pain today." And so I didn't even know what to say to that. I was like, wow, you think, do I really save lives? Yes, it is. This man was at a point where he was not going to live with that pain anymore. And it was his last effort to try and get rid of this pain, and it worked. And and that's why he was so excited to see me, because he wanted to tell me that. And then his wife came back, and, we didn't talk about it anymore, but he leaned in and told me that. And that story sticks with me to this day, that I am making a difference. I'm supposed to be doing this work. I'm supposed to be helping people. And I've seen it. I've seen bed sores close. I've seen holes in people's heads from surgery where they had tubes close, and the doctor couldn't believe that the hole closed in their head. I've had doctors call me like, "You know what? I use this on my dog and it saved my dog's life." There's so many things that I hear, and it just motivates me to keep at it and just keep showing people the equipment. Just keep showing it to people. And Amber, you show everybody, and that's what I love about you. You are always like, "This, you got to be on this. You need this. Let's do it." And people listen, and they get the results, and so yeah, that's probably my top story. And there's plenty more, but that one, it hits me. It pulls the strings a little bit.
Sharing that, yeah, I think pain, is one of those chronic conditions that will affect you to that level. It can make life unbearable. And what the traditional medical system has to offer is pain medication.
Yeah.
Hey, pain medication is wonderful temporarily. But when you have chronic pain, the last thing you want is for someone to be on pain meds nonstop for years. Which, by the way, just in the last year, helped a client who was on pain meds for 10 years, totally off pain meds now, 100%. They bought their own their house. So yeah, miracles. Thank you for sharing.
No problem. I'm glad I was able to tell that. It was a good question.
All right. Well, I think we both asked each other all of our questions, and I guess I would just, for me, want to wrap up and say, if you have any additional questions about post-electromagnetic field, reach out to myself or reach out to Andrew. It doesn't matter. And he will be happy to get you connected with the information that you need. Yeah, we're here to help you.
Yeah, we are. We're here for you. If you listen to this conversation and you have any motivation to give us a call and check us out, please do. Go to the website, learn all you can, do your research. It come to the conclusion that that these machines are right for you, and buy the best possible unit that you can get. I know there's a lot of stuff out there. It's confusing. I don't know how many times people call me and just have a conversation with me because they are so confused about all the different stuff out there. And I don't mind having the conversation. And I think, maybe I need to do a recording of just that conversation, right? Of all the different stuff and why people are so confused. But we're here to help, and we can ship these all over the world. People are getting the results, and we can help more now because they've, become so affordable and smaller, lighter, and more technology in them. Embedding that Schumann resonance in there is really making a difference in people's lives. I hope to keep improving on and keep making great machines and helping more people. So great. I had a great time today. Thank you, Amber. It was awesome.
Thanks for tuning
Me
in
too.
to the Feel the PMF podcast. I truly appreciate my guests for sharing their insights, and I hope you picked up something valuable today. When you're ready, explore PMF technology for yourself. To learn more, visit feelthepemf.com. PEMF isn't meant to diagnose, treat, or cure anything, and these statements haven't been reviewed by the FDA. Always check with your doctor before trying it, especially if you're pregnant or have implanted medical devices. This is for information only, so please make your own informed decisions.